It was at a dinner at an architect friend's house that I noticed how much money and space have in common. Her dining table, an extremely expensive Italian piece, was so covered with decorative objects that there was barely room for the plates. And the most curious thing? Her card holder was overflowing with 17 different credit cards. "I need options," she explained, serving me tea in a cup with a designer label. That night, I returned to my home with off-white walls and carefully chosen furniture, thinking about how my grandmother Akiko, who survived the post-war scarcity, in Japan managed her finances with just a small notebook, her household account book. And she never needed loans. Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave your like. This small gesture helps me continue bringing content about a more intentional life. What my friend does not realize, and what perhaps you have also not noticed, is that true wealth rarely announces itself. It lives in the silence of empty spaces, in the pause between conscious decisions, in the calm of a mind that knows exactly what it possesses. Have you ever noticed that the richest people you know are frequently the least ostentatious? There is a reason for this. Research shows that 86% of American millionaires live well below their financial means. It is not a coincidence. It is strategy. The same strategy that Japanese minimalism has been teaching for centuries. Today, I will share how ancient Japanese principles can transform not only your home, but also your bank account. And no, I will not suggest that you live like a monk or save every penny in glass jars. The wealth that minimalism provides goes far beyond saving, although that is a welcome side effect. 1. Empty space creates financial opportunities. When my parents lost almost everything in the 2008 crisis, including our apartment in Boston, I learned something that no economics school teaches. Emptiness is not absence. It is potential. The Japanese concept of empty space, the meaningful space between things, applies perfectly to finances. Just as a room with few pieces of furniture allows movement and breathing, a life with fewer unnecessary expenses creates capital flow for investments. My father, a restaurant owner on the East Coast, used to say that the secret to success lies in what you choose not to do. He refused 5 expansion proposals when all competitors were opening branches uncontrollably. 2 years later, while others were closing their doors, he acquired 2 premium spaces for half the price. The question is not how much you save, but how much mental space you free up to recognize and seize opportunities when they arise. And they always arise in moments of crisis, as long as you have the clarity to see them. The wealthy woman is not the one who buys everything she wants. She is the one who wants only what truly matters. 2. Financial curation is more valuable than accumulation. In 2015, I visited Warren Buffett's house, a man with billions who lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. What impressed me was not the simplicity, but the intentionality. Each object had a purpose. Japanese minimalism teaches us to refuse, discard, separate. Apply this to your money. Refuse investments that you do not completely understand. Discard expenses that do not bring real value. Separate your money into categories with clear purposes. Before buying Apple stocks in 2010, I spent 3 months studying the company. While friends were buying and selling stocks based on the latest rumor, I maintained my position for years. Result? My investment appreciated more than 1,200%. Wealth comes from the quality of what you choose, not the quantity of what you accumulate. As we say in Japan, fall 7 times, rise 8. In the investment world, this means choose well, stand firm, and have patience. 3. Financial mindfulness transforms pennies into fortune. Every Friday, I sit at the kitchen table with my tea and white porcelain and open my household account book, the Japanese domestic accounting book. It is not just an expense record. It is an exercise in presence. Billionaires like Ray Dalio practice meditation daily, not just for mental well-being, but because clarity is the most valuable financial asset that exists. In 2012, when my mother fell ill from overwork and stress, I saw up close the real cost of financial inattention. She had 3 assistants but did not know how much she was paying in credit card interest. She had expensive jewelry, but had no peace. Mindfulness teaches us to observe our consumption patterns without judgment, only with curiosity. Why do I buy? What do I feel before, during, and after? Does this purchase bring me closer to my goals or take me further from them? A Harvard University study showed that people who record their expenses daily save, on average, 20% more than others, not because they actively save, but because they consume consciously. 4. Simplicity creates focus. Focus creates wealth. When I returned from Japan to the USA, I brought only 2 suitcases. In the following 3 years, I tripled my income as a consultant. Not because I worked more, I actually worked less, but because I eliminated dispersion. My son Kenji has only 6 toys in his room. Each was chosen with purpose. I observe how he plays in a deeper and more creative way than his friends who have rooms overflowing with options. The same happens with our investments. The average American investor has 17 different types of financial applications. Self-made millionaires? They generally concentrate on 3 to 5 categories they know deeply. When I visited the minimalist office of a major investor in New York, I noticed that his desk had only 1 monitor and a small sculpture. I asked where the rest of the equipment was. He smiled. The fewer distractions, the better decisions. At the true root of the word decide means to cut away. Each financial decision is essentially the act of cutting possibilities to focus on what really matters. 5. The invisible luxury of financial freedom. When I met my grandmother Akiko in Kyoto, at 20 years old, I was initially disappointed. I expected to find a traditional Japanese house with a Zen garden and ancient treasures. Instead, I saw a small apartment with simple furniture. Until I realized, at 78 years old, she woke up when she wanted, spent mornings practicing calligraphy, afternoons tending to her small vertical garden, and evenings reading or talking with friends. She had no boss, debts, or financial anxieties. That is the true luxury that Japanese minimalism provides. The luxury of time, autonomy, peace of mind. And that is worth infinitely more than any material good. The concept of one moment, one encounter, reminds us that life is made of unrepeatable experiences. Those who are too busy working to pay debts for things they did not need are missing these precious moments. When I worked at the NYU Design Center, I noticed how my most indebted colleagues were frequently the most anxious and least creative. Financial stress consumes mental energy that could be directed toward growth and innovation. 6. Learning to transform less into more. In 2018, I volunteered in regions affected by the earthquake in Japan. I saw families who had lost almost everything but rebuilt their lives with dignity and purpose. An elderly lady showed me how she had organized her small temporary shelter, transforming a minimal space into a welcoming home. In adversity, she told me, we learn what we really need to be happy. This is the essence of the beauty of imperfection and simplicity, finding beauty in imperfection and simplicity. In the financial world, this means recognizing that perfection is impossible, but intelligent adaptation is always possible. When the stock market plummeted in 2020, many investors panicked and sold everything. Those with an acceptance of imperfection mentality saw the fall as a natural part of the cycle, kept calm, and in many cases, bought more at discounted prices. My grandfather Takeshi used to meditate near a river. He left me a stone polished by the waters as a reminder. Water does not fight against the stone, he explained. It simply flows around it, and with time and patience, transforms the stone. Your investments work the same way. Do not fight against the market. Flow with it, with calm and consistency. Time will be your ally. In The Ritual of 3 Pots, a minimalist approach to wealth, a practice that transformed my finances, was the system of 3 pots finances, inspired by Japanese principles of balance. Pot 1, needs, 50% of income for essential expenses and basic well-being. Pot 2, growth, 30% for investments, education, and personal development. Pot. 3. Generosity. 20% for donations, gifts, and community support. This simple approach eliminates unnecessary complexity that many financial experts promote. You do not need 15 budget categories or 10 different accounts. Simplicity creates consistency, and consistency creates wealth. When my father temporarily went bankrupt in the 90s, it was this simplicity that saved him. Instead of complicated recovery plans, he focused on 3 things: reducing expenses to the essential, maintaining the quality of service in his only remaining restaurant, and gradually investing in his recovery. 3 years later, he was more prosperous than before. 8. Organized home, rich mind. In 2019, I was called to help a high-level executive reorganize her life. Her apartment was a paradox: expensive but chaotic decoration, closets overflowing with clothes with tags still attached, drawers full of documents mixed with valuable jewelry. Her financial life was in the same state: late bills despite high salary, forgotten investments, opportunities lost due to disorganization. We started organizing her physical space using the refuse, discard, separate method. For each object, 3 questions. Do I really need this? Does this bring me joy? Or, real value? Is this the best place for it? Then we applied the same questions to her finances. 6 months later, she had eliminated $37,000 in unnecessary debt, consolidated scattered investments, and regained control of her financial life. The most impressive thing? She reported sleeping better for the first time in years. As an ancient Japanese saying states, when the house is in order, luck appears. 9. The comparison trap and the freedom of enough. The Japanese concept of eating until you are 80% satisfied applies perfectly to finances. In a culture of excess, knowing what is enough is a competitive advantage. In 2016, a fashion editor friend bought an apartment larger than her needs because it was what was expected of someone in her position. 3 years later, she was stressed with maintenance and expenses, while I enjoyed the freedom of a smaller but perfectly adequate house. Comparison is the thief of joy, and also of your potential wealth. When you define enough based on your real needs and not on social expectations, something extraordinary happens. You create space for genuine abundance. My aunt in Japan has an interesting concept called the festival mouth, the celebration mouth, that only opens on special occasions. She maintains a perfect balance between everyday frugality and occasional celebration. This is true financial sophistication, not permanent austerity nor constant indulgence, but the discernment to know when each is appropriate. 10. The transformative power of financial gratitude. The last, and perhaps most powerful Zen principle of Japanese minimalism for wealth is conscious gratitude. In Japanese culture, there exists the concept of respect for resources, lamenting waste. This mentality teaches us to value what we already have before desiring more. Every morning, before consulting my investments or planning purchases, I dedicate 5 minutes to recognize what already exists in my life: assets, opportunities, relationships, knowledge. Studies from the University of California show that people who regularly practice gratitude make 23% better financial decisions than average. When you start from abundance, even if it is just the abundance of possibilities, you attract more abundance. It is like my grandmother Akiko used to say while we folded sheets together: take good care of what you have, and you will always have what you need. If you wish to transform your relationship with money through Japanese minimalism, start with these simple steps. Create space, physical and mental, for financial clarity. Practice conscious curation of possessions and investments. Develop mindfulness rituals for your finances. Eliminate distractions to focus on what really matters. Define your personal enough. Cultivate gratitude for what you already possess. Remember, the path to wealth through Japanese minimalism is not about deprivation. It is about focused abundance. It is not about obsessively saving. It is about spending with intention and investing with clarity. If this video brought a little financial serenity to your life, Leave your like and subscribe to the Minimalist Charm channel for more content about living with elegance, purpose, and, yes, genuine prosperity. Leave in the comments. Less is more wealthy.